Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Maple Leafs Media, Leafs Talk Live. You all know me. I'm your guy Jake, and I'm going to allow my fellow hosts of this show to introduce themselves. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having us.
Doing great.
It's great to have you guys, and tell us a little bit about yourselves and the podcast you guys got going on.
So my name's Dara. The other gentleman's my brother Kian, and we're the hosts of the Bahds podcast. And it's about everything and anything having to do with the Maple Leafs and hockey in general. We're only about a month in, but looking forward to the upcoming season, and that should produce some good content.
We just kind of realized that we like to, hang around on Fridays, get drunk, and talk about the Leafs. We figured, well, why not record it? People might find it entertaining, and here we are.
Well, I really liked your podcast. You guys, you have a great hockey knowledge, and I'm excited to get this show on the road. And as you can see by the title, we're getting hyped for hockey.
Woo! Oh, yeah. Hype me up, bud. Hype me up.
Let's go. Just like Peter Hopkins in the comments says, let's go. It's going to be a great show. So, if you haven't heard, 6 Maple Leafs players will be representing their countries in the World Juniors this year. And you might be surprised by who is left off this list, but there was 3 for Finland, and there's 3 for Russia, Amirov being one of them. So that's a big opportunity to watch the first-round pick of the Maple Leafs this year. But Nick Robertson was left off the USA roster because he was held back by the Maple Leafs. So the big question here, will Nick Robertson make the Maple Leafs roster?
It's a big question. And before the Leafs held him back, I would have said no, because I think that there was probably too many wingers to deal with. But the fact that they're not letting him go play in that World Junior event, that means the Leafs want him to make the roster. They want him there. They probably already have an idea of where they want to slot him in. So if he comes in and performs at least where they expect him to, that he doesn't even have to be elite at this point, I think easily he makes the roster this year.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I was always really high on Nick Robertson. Even in the podcast, we tried to predict the lineups, later in the year, and I really thought he was going to make the team just based off how he played in the Columbus series. I thought he played with a lot of tenacity and a lot of grit, and it's like he had a fire under his ass. Like, he was top notch, and he stood out. And you really think he's going to pass up an opportunity to play for the Leafs? Hell no! Screw the juniors. He's coming to the big boys.
Hold on, I just see he can't make the U.S. World Junior team. Like, he could have walked on to that team.
He would have been their best player, man.
He was held back. He was held back by the Leafs, and I agree with you guys. He was held back for a reason. He's gonna be on this team this year, I believe. And if he's not on the final roster, he's gonna at least be on the taxi squad or something along those lines. The Leafs, they have a use for him this year, and I don't see him being on the 4th line, because it would hurt his development. I think he's going to start on the 3rd, maybe even 2nd line. Mm-hmm. And I think that by the end of the season, call me crazy, but he might have an opportunity to sneak up to that 1st line.
First line, interesting. See, I don't know whether he could take Hyman's spot, because I think that we've already kind of established that the chemistry between Hyman, Matthews, and Marner just kind of works. So I feel like he better slots in to basically take McKay's spot, who, even on our episode of the podcast where we talked about our lineups, McCabe was my one guy in the top 6 who wasn't solidified at all, especially with the fact that he made the team under Babcock, then got injured for half the year. So really, Keefe didn't even get to use him that much. So his spot as far as a top 6 player, and he even played a lot of 3rd line last year. I think if there's a spot that's open, I think that's it. And I would not be surprised that if he starts in the 3rd line, that he could easily jump into that 2nd line left wing spot.
Yeah, they could really just move him anywhere in the line. I mean, even if he was to play on a 4th line, he could potentially be playing with Joe Thornton and Jason Spezza. Can you think about the mentorship he would get on that line? Everybody will complain about putting a skilled player on the 4th line, but if he's playing with 2 vets who were once really, really good players, why not? It's great for his development.
That's a good point. The reason I said it's not as good for his development is because of the ice time. I didn't take that into consideration. Absolutely, playing with Thornton, Spezza, Simmons, even if he's on the fourth line, any of these guys, the veteran presence, that's going to be huge for Robertson, and I think it's beneficial for those older guys too to have that speed beside them.
Yeah,
that'd be huge.
But I also just look at the way Keefe used his fourth line last year, and it was very, very sparingly. And I mean, I guess that it's a little bit more experience, maybe have a little more talent this year, but he's still going to ride the big boys. So really, his ice time's gonna be around like the 6 to 8 minute mark, right? So he really needs to probably be in the 10 to 15 mark to, really be impactful and be able to showcase his game.
So we've got some comments to get to. You go ahead and say what you're saying though.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I was just saying that I think Robertson would also slot pretty well on the third line. Like he could potentially be with Kerfoot and VC on the other side. Like he can keep up there, and I could see that line making some plays.
I want to see VC on the second line. I think VC's very underrated signing. I'm excited to see him a lot this year. But there's a comment to get to here from Sledge Hockey 101. That's my guy. He asks, how many points do you guys seeing Robertson scoring this year? Now, take into consideration it's a fixed 56-game season, is what it's been reported as. So
are we going to say like what he would be projected to get in 82, or just like what his actual total would be in the 56-game season?
You go either or.
Because all right, well, like I think he's going to play at probably a 40 point pace. So I think that puts him at, like, if my math is correct, around like a 31 points in 56 games, something like that, maybe 28 points in 56 games.
Okay.
It is so hard to say because personally, I think he makes opening night roster, but because there's going to be a taxi squad, he's going to be moving in and out of the lineup, I think, because like you have guys like Pierre Engvall, like he's not going anywhere. So you're going to give him a look, and Nick Robertson's the odd man out in a scenario like that. So I'd be happy if he even puts up like 20 points because he likely won't play every game.
Yeah.
Although here's an interesting point though. Well, I was just saying, like, what if you have the two veterans in Spezza and Thornton, and like they're probably going to need a rest more than like Nick Robertson, especially in a shortened season. You're want to keep them and their legs running till the end. So I think they might be more likely to take a seat than Robertson.
Yeah, but you never know with the shortened season, right? They might be just ready to go.
True.
Like,
I think my prediction would be 20 to 25 point range. That would be something I'd be content with as well. But I think he could shock us and put up even more than that.
Yeah, he definitely has the skill set.
Like his junior stats are just ridiculous, and we saw what he could do in a short time last year in the qualifying round.
I mean, he looked good in qualifying round too.
Yeah,
the games he played, like he was arguably one of the best players on the ice.
Yeah, and those are important games too, right? Like a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we're here on Leafs Talk Live. This is the first time with the Bahds. Right? Did I say it right?
Oh, perfect. You got it. Spot on.
So we might have these guys back on. They're very knowledgeable content creators, and make sure you check out their podcast on Spotify as well. We've got a packed show for you guys. Make sure you send in your trade offers. We'll get to them throughout the show. And I want to do more of an introduction for you guys, allow the viewers to get to know you a bit better. So you guys want to tell us some of your best stories from being at a Maple Leafs game, because we're all missing it right now.
Oh, yeah, I think the two favorite games we've each been to, we went together, and funny enough, they were both in the same year, the 2017 season. But Kian, I'll let you take this one with the first game.
Right, yeah, because I guess it did happen right before, which is so
crazy.
Yeah, so basically, at work, I got two different rewards, and one was $250 that I could use towards Leaf tickets, and then the other one was $250 that I could use towards like food and drinks before a Leaf game. So I was like, well, we got to do it up. We got to go full tilt here. Like we didn't feel like just spending the 250 on the tickets. We were like, if we have 250 to spend, we're gonna splurge. So we ended up getting the golds, which was nice, and we're sitting like right behind the goalie, and we ended up going to Real Sports right before, and we had $250 to spend. So what we obviously got, and this was at lunchtime. So the game was at 2 p.m. So we decided to have nice steak lunches. And we had like $150 left on our tab. And we're like, well, we might as well get tuned. And so we ended up getting a bunch of shots, a couple of different pitchers, and we ended up walking into the gate just obliterated. And so we all know as you're at a game, you're gonna have a couple of pops. And well, the Leafs ended up winning that game 8-1. So you can imagine you're drinking a lot. The happy drinks are coming out. And Marner had 4 points, Bozak had 4 points, JVR had 3 points. Like they were rocking that night. And there's a picture from that night. We decided to wear our St. Pat's jerseys for some reason, but there's a picture from that night where I think it's like 4-1 in the third period. And you look at both of our faces and you could just tell we are just not there anymore. And the picture was so legendary that Dar, in fact, took my face from that picture and turned it into a t-shirt with my face all over it. And it looks absolutely ridiculous. And it just because that night was just legendary night. How can you get better than an 8-1 win in an afternoon so you can get home by 5 o'clock?
The Toronto Arenas game.
Yep.
It was legendary.
It was the 100-year anniversary game. Like it was literally like the 2 o'clock November 27th or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a fun game to watch on TV. So for you guys, that must have been even better.
Oh man, it's next level.
Yeah, and what's crazy is we almost topped it. Like we unfortunately missed out on the Winter Classic in Detroit. Pretty much our whole family went, but we just couldn't afford it at the time, so we didn't go. So we made a point that if the Leafs were ever in another outdoor game, we were going. Didn't care about the cost. We were going. So Centennial Classic rolls around. We bought tickets and
jerseys,
and jerseys, the works. And oh my God, what an experience, because it was almost more than a hockey game. Like I saw some absolute legends that night. Like Wayne Gretzky was there. Don Cherry was there. The Rocket Richard's son was there, which I thought was really cool. Because
Pocket Rocket?
Yeah, that was super cool. Plus, we got a concert from Bryan Adams, which is just awesome. The fans were amazing. It was so loud, and we were just dying for a goal. And we weren't even in actual seats because it was at BMO Field, so we were on the end and we were in scaffolding. So when that place started rumbling, I did not feel safe. But we were just eager for a goal, one goal, just so the place would go nuts. And we finally got one. And then it was just a roller coaster of emotions for us because the Leafs were doing really well. And then it started to look like that miserable Boston Game 7 where we're like, oh my God, they're going to fucking blow this. They're going to blow it. It's going to be a total shit show again. But nope, we forgot we have Austin Matthews now. So we're in overtime, and we were actually behind the net where Austin Matthews scored the OT winner. So we were about as close as possible to it. And just the euphoria of that goal going in, I don't know if I'll ever experience anything like that again. It was unbelievable. Surely. Maybe if the Leafs won the cup, that would be what it would take.
Yeah, maybe one day, maybe this year. We'll see.
I mean, you never know.
I've never been to an outdoor game. I'd love to go to one. Who knows if there's going to be fans this year, but there's been talks of having outdoor stadiums like the Penguins, Kings, Ducks, and Bruins were considering it, using a stadium so they can have fans there. Mm-hmm. We'll see what happens with that. But if you're watching this, make sure you send in your trade offers. And for me, my best story, I mean, I had a good time at a Senators-Leafs game not too long ago, a couple years back, and I ended up running into Daryl Sittler, a legend.
Austin Matthews is in that background. He's my little buddy on my shoulder right here.
Oh, I see the comment. Yeah. Yeah, that is Austin Matthews in the background.
Plush toy.
Question from Jason Brooks. He's a viewer all the time. Shout out to Jason. What do you guys think of the division realignment?
We actually dove deep into this in our most recent episode, and it's honestly, I think it works. It's really good for some teams and really bad for some teams, depending on how it ends up sitting. Like I think it's really good for the Leafs. I think the Leafs are arguably the best team in Canada, so it's pretty solidified in our playoff position. But for a team like the Coyotes, for me, are the team that gets screwed the hardest because they're likely to be in a division with 4 elite teams, and they are, in my opinion, probably a playoff team in every other division, but probably the division they end up in. So I think it's gonna be really interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we actually predicted the standings for each division, so you can check that out in the podcast. But I'm really excited for the Canadian division. I think it's gonna just really reignite all those Canadian rivalries. And who knows, maybe Winnipeg and Vancouver will start hating each other. But
about that all Canadian division, stay tuned because I might have a guest who's played for 2 Canadian teams coming up sometime in the new year. So stay tuned for that and more coming potentially. But shout out to my guy Joseph Clark. He was on the show last week. He's going to be on the show more going forward. Leafs Media. That's right. Maple Leafs Media. That's where we're at for Leafs Talk Live tonight. We're going to move on with some more topics here. Let's let's dive into our Tuesday night trivia question. And the prize this week, I'm going to give away a Gary Lehman autographed hockey card. So, Tuesday night trivia, the question for tonight, and you guys can answer this. You're on the show, so we'll see what the viewers think. How many different names have the Toronto Maple Leafs had throughout their history?
It's a good question.
I'll leave that up there. Take this down. First one to get it right wins the prize, and I'll post it up here.
For a hint, there's at least 2 behind me.
There you go. That's a good hint. That's a didn't even realize that.
The answer's not even showing, so it's great.
So we have a trade offer, I believe, here.
Yes, we do.
Who says no? Leafs trade Nick Robertson and Rasmus Sandin plus a third. Nashville trades Ryan Ellis and retains 50% salary. So I'm gonna let you take it because you're shaking your head. So you go ahead and take this.
Honestly, that looks like a troll. Like that. Like, there's no way that's real. No one would do that. No one in their right mind would do that. You got your 2 best prospects for an aging defenseman just because they're retaining 50% salary.
Yeah, you don't trade 2 high-end prospects. I think you're giving up way too much in that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like Ryan Ellis is good, but he's not that good.
I'd be looking for at least another pick and a high one at that. I mean, or you can just take the third out at all. And I'd maybe do Nick Robertson and a lower prospect other than Sandin, maybe a Liljegren. But
if they want those 2 guys, I want their top guy.
The answer is no.
I want Roman Josi. I want
Roman Josi. You're taking those 2.
The answer is no. And correct answer is 3.
That is correct.
3. So Neil Murren, you can message me.
Mentioned all 3 in this episode already.
Yes, the Arenas, St. Pat's, and then of course Maple Leafs. So you can claim your prize by messaging me at Maple Leafs Media on Facebook page, Instagram, or just message me there and I'll send that out to you. The Gary Lehman signed card you have won. So congratulations to you. Let's talk more about what's going on with this team because we just had a trade offer for a highly touted prospect in Rasmus Sandin. And Rasmus Sandin, he's been putting on some weight this year. He says he's bulked up a bit, and he's been practicing with William Nylander, who he claims Nylander's been struggling against him. What do you guys think of Sandin? Do you think he cracks a starting 6 this year?
I'll let you go for that.
I mean, I don't know how you don't have him in the starting 6. He looked ready last year. And I'm not really surprised that he's bulking up if he's been training with Delander. And plus they have the Swedish connection, so I'd imagine they're pretty good friends. But if you think about when the return to hockey happened and the bubble happened, one thing that I noticed, at least with like the Leafs social media posts, Nylander looked huge. He looked like he bulked up like crazy over the quarantine, and he just looked like a beast. So I would imagine if Sandin's now training with him, he's going to be cut from the same cloth. Plus, he always showed a lot of poise, which is so good to have in a defenseman. So that's why I think he's going to be in the top 6. And this is again where the taxi squad might have to come in.
Yeah, I think Sandin's gonna make the team, and he might not be playing every night. I wouldn't expect that. I think we signed Bogosian for a reason. He's probably gonna come in and have Sandin sit out some nights, but I think Sandin's gonna get a lot of playing time this year. What do you think?
I mean, I still think that the Leafs are probably going to be running probably 7 forwards a lot this year. Sorry, 7 defensemen a lot this year, and so like, there's just such there's too many. There's a surplus of defensemen down there, and that bottom half of the lineup, and he's not taking Muzzin's spot, he's not taking Riley's spot, and he can't play the right side. So really, it's that third pair left side, and he's fighting with the likes of Travis Dermott and Bogosian, and Bogosian plays the right side, but then there's lots of pieces there. And so like Dermott's got the experience on him, and we've been kind of waiting for him to take a step, which a lot of people think that he will this year. So I think they're both going to end up being in the lineup a lot, and they're just going to be running that 70. So I do think he'll be in the lineup, but it's just going to be a variance on ice time.
Yeah, it's going to be weird to see how this happens. We got a question from my guy Joseph Clark here. What's your starting 6? Do you guys, someone want to start here?
I think our starting 6 is pretty similar.
Yeah, it's probably identical. Like starting 6 for me, Riley, Brody. Second pair, you got I'd say keep Muzzin and Hall together, and then third pair, you probably got Sandin and Bogosian, or Sandin and Dermott.
See, instead of Hall, I put Dermott in there.
True.
Yeah, I'd like to see Hall get replaced by Dermott because I think Dermott is a better defenseman, but the chemistry with Muzzin for Hall is really good. So I don't know if you want to mess with that. Personally, I think Bogosian's the 7th guy. And then you put Sandin with Dermott.
Yeah, see, the reason I have Dermott over Hall is because Hall, his upside, he's not going to be growing very much. Dermott's still 23 years old. He hasn't reached his ceiling yet. He hasn't reached his full potential. He's played over 150 games at just 23. You don't find that in defensemen too often. So, and you know what? I'm going to be honest. When I was at the Maple Leafs practice, it was an outdoor practice. He was the first one there and last one to leave. Seriously, that guy, and that was 2 years in a row. I seriously think he's a hard worker, and I think that his upside, I don't know, man. Dermott, he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, I love Dermott.
Our nickname for Dermott is Dermott the Frog. Like we love Dermott. Like Dermott is awesome. Like I still like his first goal is ingrained in my mind. That like smile. Like it's what dreams are made of, honestly. So like I want nothing but the best for him. Like I remember watching him back when he was on the World Juniors, when he was playing for Erie with McDavid. Like the kid's always been good. So like I have no doubt that he has the talent to take his slice of the pie and move into the top 4. But I mean, I'm very comfortable with Muzzin and Hall together. I totally agree with the upside of Dermott, but like you don't mess with chemistry sometimes. So I feel like I would want to leave that together and then let the kids have fun on the bottom pair.
Yeah.
I got a comment that I have to get to because I thought it was going to come up last week. It took till this week for it to come up. So you're just tuning in here. Did you talk about Lehtinen?
Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Mikko Lehtinen, that's complicated. It's complicated, eh?
Yeah, it's basically whatever you hear, right? Like nobody really knows how good this guy is. Everybody thinks he's pretty good. I hope he's really good, but who knows? Like he's never played in the NHL before, so we'll
He's
see
the
if he
wild
can.
card.
Yeah, him and another wild card I think is Barabanov.
Well, Barabanov's playing on the wing, so like he's not really impacting the demons.
No, but I'm just talking about like players playing overseas that we don't really know anything about.
Yeah, like Mikheyev last year.
Yeah, exactly.
We just didn't know what we were getting, and yeah, you can say he's good, but you need to see it in the NHL before you can really say it. So,
I mean, like running at a point per game in the KHL as a defenseman is nothing to shake a stick at. But like, is he going to come in and be an Ozhiganov, or is he going to come in and be a Zaitsev, or is he going to come in and be a Panarin? We don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Odaganov.
We got some trades here. We got two that I'm gonna put up here. So Sledge Hockey 101, my guy again. Leafs trade Nylander, Dermott, and Washington trades Verona, Hagelin, and I always mess up his name. Yeah, Siegenthaler. Yeah.
I mean, that's a better trade than the last one. But I mean, I really like Verona. Hagelin, he's very injury prone, although I do like the speed. If it's Nylander, I would be looking for a little bit more from Washington. Like if maybe a second round pick might sweeten the deal a little bit. As of right now, like taking it at face value, I wouldn't take that trade.
Like it would be a hard no for me. Like I would want a first. Like you're not getting enough. Like we were just talking about the potential of Dermott, and like the potential of Nylander is on a whole other spectrum than Dermott. Like Nylander's already proven he could score 30 goals in this league, and he's only getting better. And he's not like this is an old guy. He's like 24, not even. So like you need to get more for a Nylander trade. And so like no, there's not enough there to make me warrant giving up either of those guys.
Yeah, long story short, no. Hard no. We got another round 2 of Who Says No. Arizona trades Darcy Kemper and Maple Trees. Trade Freddie and the Giraffe.
Well, I would imagine the Giraffe is
I don't know who the Giraffe is.
Pierre Engvall.
Pierre Engvall is definitely
my
guess.
Although
I prefer to call him the Gazelle.
Well, I mean, I'd take that then.
Like that, I don't hate that.
I'd be curious to see Kemper's contract before I'd agree to that. I just don't know how many more years he has or at what cost, but yeah, I mean, it would be a really risky deal. If this is made during the season, I'd rather make this trade in the off season, but it's kind of too late for that because this is Freddie's last year. And I just don't think you'll see many trades this season. Right?
Darcy Kemper's making $4.5 million, and he's signed for this year and next.
Okay, so you're only getting an extra year out of him, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Then that kind of makes it a little bit worse.
And he's only a year. He's only like a year younger.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you do have Joseph Wall in the system. I mean, who knows what he's going to be? So maybe the Leafs will look internally for a goalie. I think because that's just what they do.
I was hoping we drafted Askarov personally. What do you guys think of him?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not one for throwing first round picks at goalies.
Okay.
Like the numbers don't say that it's a good idea. Like for every Carey Price, there's 10 Justin Pogies.
That guy was really hyped.
Like straight up, like look at Malcolm Subban. He was another guy, first round pick, and he's never ever lived up to that hype. Jack Campbell, he was a 10th overall pick. He's never lived up to that hype. Like it's just not worth it. Where you could probably get equal talent at a lot later point. Ian Scott, love Ian Scott. I think Ian Scott is so underrated. Big, little bit injury prone at this point, but he could develop into something really good. His junior numbers are great.
I've got a comment that I think you guys will agree with. Never trade Nylander.
All day. All day. I've been a big Nylander supporter since we drafted him. I just don't understand the hate that he gets. everyone's still holding the contract over his head, but like the kid's got so much talent, and he could literally put a puck in a puck shaped hole. Like his accuracy is insane. Like he is on Matthews' level of accuracy. He just doesn't have the ridiculous release that Matthews does. So I don't know. I don't get the hate.
You know what? I got another question I want to get to. Why is everyone thinking the Leafs are going to trade Nylander? I think that's just people talking out of their ass. I mean, they just want to trade him because the contract hold up, or his hair is a comment that I got. See, listen, I did a reading stupid comments video. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you check it out after this video. The stupid stuff that, sorry guys, Leafs Nation, what are you saying? Why do you want to get rid of Nylander? He's got the best contract of the core four, and to me, that's not even a debate.
Nope.
The others they're in double digits. Well, he looks like a bargain now.
Why do you want to trade William Nylander? He's young. He's emerging talent. It doesn't make sense to me. And we have another trade offer with William Nylander in it. Very, very, very unrealistic. But Nylander and
at least he leads with that.
And Dermott for Ellis and Arvidsson.
I mean, I like Victor Arvidsson. He's really good. He's not as good as Nylander, and I like Ellis, but he's a lot older than Dermott, and they have potential to really reach almost the exact same peak. Like I think Dermott could be exactly as good as Ryan Ellis. So you're literally giving up 2 younger players and a second for 2 older players who are equal, if not as good. So
yeah, I'd take that second out of there right away. Like I don't see why you'd give up another pick. Nylander is already worth it for them. Then you're throwing in a good prospect like Dermott to replace Ellis. So I don't know why you'd bother throwing pick a second, especially. Like that's way too high. Maybe a 7th.
Yeah, no, I'm not taking this deal either. I'm kind of sick of talking about all these Nylander deals, man. Sledge Hockey 101 drops an interesting one. Toronto gets Evander Kane, and San Jose gets Alex Kerfoot, Justin Hall, Pierre Engvall, Brooks, and Toronto's 2021 firsts.
I think you're giving up too much for another winger that we already have too many of. So I'm gonna say no. Like Kane's already really injury prone. You're giving up the potential of Adam Brooks and a first round pick for a guy who's not worth a first round pick anymore.
No.
And then everyone else just throw in. Like it's a complicated trade for absolutely no reason.
Yeah, like a first round pick is almost good enough to get Evander Kane.
Kane is up there in age. Thank you, Jason Brooks, for calling that out. Because he's like 32 at this point almost. Like he's way past his prime.
Yeah, and you're giving up a lot of pieces for that.
Like, you're helping the Sharks out so much by doing that.
Yeah, they're doing the rebuild.
Yeah.
If you take out Brooks and maybe make the first 3rd rounder, I'd do that.
Take out Brooks. So you're saying there'd be Kerfoot, Hall, and Engvall and a 3rd for Kane?
Yeah, I'd do that.
So then who takes that 3rd line center slot?
Well, I wouldn't, honestly, you guys might be surprised by this. I like Philip Hallander a lot. We got him in the Pittsburgh deal where we sent Kapanen over. I really like, he was their 2nd best prospect in their system at the time. He's got a lot of potential. I believe he's just 20. He's around the 20-year-old age. He's got a lot of potential. And I could see him slotting in there pretty nicely. Or you could even put Spezza or Thornton up there just for this year, and Hallander comes in the year after.
Yeah, exactly. We have enough centermen who can play that position for this year, but you would have to address that need moving forward because they're all on like 1-year deals.
Another question here. A trade offer, rather. I'm not a Nylander hater. But what about Nylander for Ellis, Arvidsson, and a 2nd?
Why are you so set on Nashville? Like, this is the 3rd trade for Nashville. I mean,
well, it's because that Nashville's on their way down out of their cup contention, so they're probably heading to rebuild. So they're probably going to be trading a bunch of their big guys. But like, I'm not as high on Ryan Ellis as a lot of people are. Like, I think he's a product of the Nashville system, But as far as all the defensemen to come out of there over the years, he reminds me a lot more of a Cody Franzen than a Shea Weber. So like it's sort of just like I don't know. He's not.
Like the only way I'm entertaining a trade with Nashville for a Nashville defenseman is if it's Roman Yossi. I will take Roman Yossi for Nylander.
Oh, you're gonna have to throw in a lot more there.
Yeah, that would be way more worth it, though, right?
Yeah, like you're gonna have to do
Roman Yossi is so much better than Ryan.
You have to do like Nylander and a first, and probably a defensive prospect like a Liljegren as well to even get them talking about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're sellers, who knows?
Is Nylander the best net front player in the NHL?
No, not even close.
I mean, if you look at his actual net front goals last year, he was actually like top 3 in the league as far as goals from like the house, like the trapezoid area in front of the net. Like he has the top 3 goals from that spot. So
I guess it depends on how you're defining a net front player.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Wayne Simmons is a net front player, but that's not where he scores all of his goals. It's just where he crashes and bangs and makes things happen. And
I'd say John Tavares.
Yeah, John Tavares is definitely way better of a net front player.
What do you guys think of this? Nylander could even play center.
I mean, he's kind of gotten his chances and all. I think he's something that one you could throw in center in emergency circumstances if like an injury happens or whatever. But like, I think he's better on the wing. I think it's been proven that if you throw him next to Matthews, they are magic together. Or if you throw him next to Tavares, they're magic together. So like, he just slots in well with really talented centers. So I don't know why you would try to spread that out too much.
Yeah, I didn't like him at center. I didn't think that worked out well at all.
No, I mean, they tried it multiple times with different people, and he just didn't seem comfortable. I think it's too much responsibility being a centerman for Nylander. He still needs to work on the defensive side of his game a lot more. I think that's his biggest downfall. And as a centerman, you got to be responsible at both ends of the ice. So I think he's way better suited on the wing, less responsibility on the defensive side.
We've got a bunch of comments with trade offers. If you guys have any trade offers, keep throwing them out there. But we're going to continue with what we've got planned for you, because that actually took up a lot of this show. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash the like button, hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we're live. We got special guests in the Bahds on here tonight. Make sure you check out their podcast on Spotify. They're on Instagram. Check them out. And let's continue with this show. So we've been talking about a lot of the additions, a lot of the trades that Leafs Nation wants to see. For you guys, who's going to be the biggest surprise Maple Leaf player this season?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have a bit of a wild card here in Barabanov.
Okay.
I think the unknown part of it is what's ultimately going to lead to the biggest surprise. I mean, you can say the same for Lettinen, but everybody's expecting him to be pretty good, but nobody's really expecting Barabanov to be much of anything, right? So if he shows up and he plays really well and he solidifies a spot on the roster, I think that would be the most surprising thing ever.
I've got Jimmy Vesey. Jimmy Vesey, this guy, he's scrappy. He can score. He had 2 years where he put up 16 goals, a year where he put up 17. Last year he had a bit of a down year, but he was on Buffalo. That's not the Sabres this year. That's last year. They were a bad team. I think Jimmy Vesey, he could slot into that second line. That's where I've got him on my projection. I'd love to see him slotting into the second line beside Tavares. I think that would be a good fit. But Vesey, Tavares, and Nylander together remains to be seen. But I like that line a lot.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think it's going to be Dermott. I mean, like, I actually agree with both of you guys. Both of those could be obviously big surprises, but I think Dermott's going to be the guy that, like, he's the old vet now as far as the young guys on the defense. So it's time for him to solidify himself in the top 4. So I think that's the surprise we're going to see, is that we're going to stick with Hall and Muzzin for the first probably half, and Dermott's going to push his way into that top 4 and really show what he's worth.
I like that, because that's a perfect segue into my next question. There's a lot of defense on this team now, and it's something we've needed. Do the Maple Leafs have a surplus of defensemen? And let me make this clear. It's not the Maple Leafs have like the best defensive unit in the NHL. No, that's not the question. Do the Maple Leafs have a surplus of defensemen in their organization?
I mean, absolutely. You could easily slot a top 8, right? And especially like you would already have too many defensemen without Mikko Lehtinen coming in, and the fact that he is coming in just makes there so much competition for a D spot right now, which is great. That's what you want. It's a good problem to have. But I mean, that is a surplus of defensemen. I'd love to have them all playing, but you can only have 6 or 7, right? So I'd be curious to see what happens.
Well, see, like I think as far as a surplus, and what a lot of people tend to forget is like all the guys we have on the Marlies, and especially the ones that have yet to be called up. Like Liljegren seems to kind of fall by the wayside on a consistent basis, and he could come out of nowhere and prove himself worth it, especially since he shoots right. Like he has him up on most of his competitive people because he shoots right. There's other guys like Timo Kivi-Halmi, who was brought in last year, who's apparently really underrated and could make a push in. So like there's just so many pieces. But the sad thing is that the traffic jam is in that 6-7 slot. It's in the 5-6-7 slot, not in the top 4 slot, which is where you'd ideally want that surplus to be. So it's like, yeah, we have a ton of NHL caliber defensemen, but it's not necessarily the greatest thing.
Yeah, we do have a surplus, but if we were to try to offload this surplus, the trade value is not exactly high.
No.
We've got like Marinson, we've got Warsofsky, Lehtinen, Dermott Hall. There's some guys we haven't seen. There's some guys we've seen and expect to take steps.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's clear that we do have a surplus of defensemen.
Well, I know Dubas is really high on the likes of like Joseph Dusak and like Mac Hollowell as well, who are both like guys been kind of ripening up on the Marley. So honestly, especially with this, how long this offseason has been and how unpredictable this year has been, like we could end up having someone come way out of the blue and kind of push their way onto this lineup. So like there's really like 2-3 spots open.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see with what happens with the expanded rosters and the taxi squad. It's going to be really interesting to see how all that unfolds. And if you're watching this, stay tuned because I'm going to do a full projection of the Maple Leafs roster, expanded roster, and taxi squad for this upcoming season. I'm going to be posting a video of that in the next week or so. So stay tuned for that. But which new addition are you most excited to see in a Maple Leafs uniform this season?
Oh, for me, it's got to be Wayne Simmons. I mean, I've always been a huge Wayne Simmons fan, especially when it comes to fantasy, because I usually play in banger pools. And he was just a money pick for banger pools because he hits everything that moves. And that's exactly the type of player that the Leafs needed because he fills a net front presence. And I mean, John Tavares can't do it all. He's gritty as fuck and he hits everything that moves. And he's not afraid to step up for his teammates, which the Leafs were really lacking in. You would see some of our top players get hacked and hit and they got their asses kicked and nobody did anything about it. Actually, one thing that Kapanen did that really bugged me was I think he watched Austin Matthews get like cross-checked from behind and just kind of looked and like, oh, whatever. And then he fucked off. Like, come on, man. You got to do something. You can't let them get away with that. And Simmons brings that to the table, and I love it.
Yeah, and if you're really excited to see him in a Leafs uniform, I'm going to show a little picture of a jersey swap.
Love it.
Looks good.
Looking good.
Looks good.
I'm excited to see it. And he's been practicing in the Maple Leafs gear. I can show that next week. But how about you? Who are you most excited to see?
I'm most excited to see TJ Brody. Easily. He's by far the most talented defenseman that the Riley's ever played with. Like some will say that, Mr. Barry might be taking that position, but if you're talking about Leafs Barry, I would 100% disagree with you. So I'm saying he's the best defenseman that Riley has ever played with, and it's going to be so beneficial to his game. Really let him kind of settle in and and have a phenomenal season and get back to where he was a couple years ago, especially since he's fully healthy, dealt with all the injury problems he had last year. Like, it's going to be a really reconnaissance renaissance year for Riley, and I'm really excited to see how those two players kind of learn and improve off of each other.
Yeah, see, I want to say, like, obviously for me the most exciting one is Joe Thornton. As a child growing up, he was one of my favorite players, and I'm super excited to see him play for the Maple Leafs. But the biggest impact for me would be TJ Brody or Wayne Simmons. But yeah, most excited, I gotta go with Joe Thornton by far. I mean, that's just the fanboy in me speaking there. And
when you say like biggest impact, though, because I think like Joe Thornton's a really great pick because he's like
for the locker room.
He's impacting the game. Yeah, he's impacting the game in a bunch of different ways. Like, he's not necessarily impacting on the scoreboard as much as he used to, right? Because but he's still an elite passer, like put up that power play points. But his presence in the locker room, his presence on the bench in tight situations, like, it's going to be invaluable to have around. And from what I've heard from other players that have played on teams with him, he's just that guy you want in your locker room at all times. So I think that's going to have a way bigger impact than people even realize.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned that in a prior video, and when I had Martin Biron on here, he was a teammate of Joe Thornton's in the World Juniors back in '95. We just lost your brother, so I think unless he can rejoin, it's gonna be me and you the rest of the way. So
I'm sure he'll hop back in.
let's keep going until he gets back on here. So yeah, Joe Thornton. Let's continue with that. He's left Davos, and he put up 11 points in 12 games. I mean, over 40 years old, still competing. He could just be sitting at home, but no, this guy, he's still going, still grinding.
I love it. I love it. Like, just the fact that he knew that this has been a long layoff. I need to play some hockey. I need to get into game shape, and it like that. Like taking that responsibility as like that just shows the leadership he's bringing. It's like he's gonna go into the locker room. He's like, boys, I've been playing for a month already. Like, I'm ready to go. Like, I want to win. And he's even said that in all of his interviews. Like, he's ready to win now. He believes that this team can win. So now it's about like, look at what he's doing to really exemplify that, and it's just gonna be. I can't wait. I'm so hyped for hockey to start. Like, I just can't wait. Like, it's gonna be so good.
I'm super stoked for it too. But I want to get to some comments because there's a bunch going on in the comments section right now. Let me just move this here. So Peter Hopkins and Sledge Hockey 101, I think they're going into it a bit. So Sledge Hockey 101, let's hear what these three. No, it's just me and you. And then there were two. If you had to trade one, is it Nylander or Marner? And I hate to answer this question.
Personally, I don't think either is getting traded. I think like everyone's like saying they're gonna break up the big four, but I think somehow, some way, they're all gonna end up being a Leaf at least at the end of their contracts, unless something really, really bad goes wrong. But a gun to my head, I have to pick one: trade Nylander or Marner. The Leafs are in cap hell. You want true cap relief? You're trading Marner.
Yeah, I mean, just like Jason Brooks, you said it. I'd say neither. We want to keep the core four together, obviously. But, I mean, the contract, Marner's is just, it's a bit much. It's a big contract, and Nylander's contract is actually a bargain deal.
I said it at the time when Nylander signed, like literally, during the whole negotiation, I was like, if the Leafs can get him under $7 million, that will end up being a steal. And the people were like, "Oh, well, but Pasternak's making 6.6." But it's like Pasternak got his deal before he broke out, and then it seemed like an absolute steal. But then he just decided to, become the Pasternak we know today, and that's just not a fair comparison. The better comparison for Nylander at the time was Nikolai Ehlers, and I'm sorry, but Nikolai Ehlers is making $6 million, and Nylander is making 6.9, and I would take Nylander over Ehlers 100% of the time. Like, Nylander is way better than Ehlers at this point. So they were, if you look at their actual point totals and how they played and how old they were, and like as far as comparables, they were much better. And I just think the Leafs are getting the better deal there.
Absolutely. Jason Brooks brings up a comment. Marner's contract is going to be hard to move. I don't think there's a team that would take it right now. Maybe there's some teams that would, but it's going to be hard to find a suitor.
I honestly don't think it would be that hard to find a suitor because, like, as much as like it's a financial turmoil type of time right now, like his big contract would essentially most likely be traded for another big contract. So it's not like they like from a cap perspective they'd have a hard time bringing it in, right? Like if we're gonna go back, let's go back to Nashville for a sec. Like if you're trading Marner for Roman Yossi for instance, Yossi's making 9.5, Marner's making 10.5. Right, like that's really not that big a discrepancy. So you could probably make that trade work from a cap perspective, even in the struggling times. But like I said, I don't think either's going anywhere.
Yeah, no, neither of them are going to be traded. And Kyle Dubas said he wanted to sign the core four. He re-signed them all.
We can and we will.
Yeah, we can and we will. He made a promise. He also made a promise this offseason to become a harder team to play against, a tougher team to play against. Mm-hmm. And I think he definitely did that.
Dora's gonna come busting through Kian's door like the Kool-Aid guy. It's definitely possible.
Another question for you here, because actually, you know what? I'll get to the question after. I want to talk about someone who doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
Jason Spezza. It's crazy. Like we think about like a decade ago, or even going further back. Like I remember the Battle of Ontario series very vividly, and I had a major hate for everyone on that team. Like you had Fozzie Bear, Daniel Alfredson, and Tucker fighting their whole bench, and Chris Neal. That I did not like. There was a lot of disdain for that team, and the fact that Jason Spezza is now a Maple Leaf. If you had told me that 10 years ago, I would have said that's disgusting. And now I love it. I love it. He was so good. So it still rattles me to my core that Babcock didn't play him in the first game of the season last year against his former team. Like that, it made no sense. That was just the most petty. It was the most petty thing I've ever seen anyone do. So, but then he just took it like a professional and just kept trucking along and just doing his thing and chipping in once in a while with goals and just being that senior leader, literally doing exactly what you asked him to do for league minimum. So I'm really happy to see him be back and just hope for more of the same. Like we don't have high expectations for a guy making league minimum, but the experience that he has is next level. And look, there it is. There he is. What happened to you?
Technical difficulties. I got kicked out.
Did you not try to rejoin?
I did, but it wouldn't work, so I'm here.
Welcome back, buddy. So welcome back, bud. So yeah, Jason Spezza, I'm different from you. I hated everyone on Ottawa too, but Jason Spezza was the exception. I've always been a big Jason Spezza fan, to be honest. And I want to show you some clips of Jason Spezza from last season in Toronto. I'm going to start off with his shot because he scored 9 goals last year.
For Spezza, the Vegas defense, Theodore.
That shot, he still got it. He can still put the puck in the net. And if we play him more consistently, I think he'll end up scoring more goals. And the thing about Jason Spezza is his heart and his desire to win. He's never won a Stanley Cup. He's a veteran, and he wants to win really badly. He's never won a cup. This was in the qualifying round last year. You might remember it. It gave our team a huge spark in a must-win game that we came back and ended up winning. I think a big part of it is because of this. That's a spark that Jason Spezza brought to the team. Someone who doesn't fight, and he brought the energy to the Maple Leafs. You could see it in the bench. You could see it on the ice. The performance in the Maple Leafs just stepped up in a big way once that happened.
What's crazy though is that fight, although I totally agree that it was the spark the Leafs needed in that moment, that fight was also just showcasing what was wrong with the Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
like if Jason Spezza is the guy that has to do that, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. Like there's no one else in your team. If the 39-year-old guy playing in league minimum has to be the one to step up and fight for your team and show some heart and some just give a shit, like that was the problem. And so that's where you bring in the likes of a Wayne Simmons, who would be the person who doing that this year and letting Spezza do what he does best on the ice.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, I think he was like, screw it. I need a chance to make it to the playoffs even. I haven't even made it to the playoffs yet. I don't want to be embarrassed, which ultimately they were. But he's like, screw it. I need to win this game somehow, some way. That was all heart, and I love to see that from Jason Spezza.
What do you think about
Man,
Spezza?
I was just so happy to see him stand up for his teammates there, and I really think that earned him his contract, his new 1-year deal, because it showed that he gives a shit. He wanted to win, and he seemed like he was the only person out there who actually wanted to win, which was really sad to see. But I think a lot of the offseason moves have really addressed that, because that seems like more of a locker room issue. But Jason Spezza is the guy who ignited it all.
He is, absolutely. We got a couple good questions here. Interesting one. Will the core 4 commitment cost the Leafs a window cup, though? A cup window, rather.
No, I think they open it up. They cause it, and they win it. It's gonna happen. It will happen. I I put money on it before for this last year, and I
How'd
think
that go?
well, I'm taking a pandemic reason why we lost, but the Leafs are better this year, and I think they have all the capabilities to do it. So no, I don't think the core 4 commitment will cost the Leafs.
I don't think so either. I mean, no, without the core 4, we're not the same team at all. Obviously, the core 4 open up the window. They're young for the most part. Tavares is not that old either. So, yeah.
Really, the worst part about it is like that we're going to be paying John Tavares $11 million at like 36 years old.
Yeah,
that's the toughest part about it.
Yeah, that contract's not going to age well.
That's a tough pill to swallow, but I can do it. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
We wanted the hometown kid. We got him. So
yeah, we finally landed the big free agent.
Yeah. More trade offers here. There's a bunch going on here. Let's go with Leafs trade Marner for Roman Josi and get a first, maybe a second.
Are you kidding?
Or another first-round pick from Nashville.
I mean, that would be amazing, but there's no way Nashville does that.
Yeah, you're sewering your whole team.
If you're trading Josi, you're going into a rebuild, which means you want all the picks, not giving away the picks.
Yeah.
And like Marner for Josi was great, but probably the Leafs would have to be the one throwing in a first or a second there.
Yeah, and I think there would be some salary retention or something too.
I think Jason might be forgetting that Roman Josi just won the Norris. He's really good.
Round whatever of I don't know who says no.
Mitch Marner, the Quebec
Leafs trade Marner to the Quebec Nordiques of Colorado, so to the Avalanche for Mikko Rantanen.
I mean, I don't hate that, but like, I don't see either team doing that. Like, especially Colorado, like they have Rantanen on I think it's like a $9.5 million deal. So Leafs are really getting cap relief for a guy that's comparable as far as offensive output.
Yeah.
Why would Colorado eat that contract?
Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense. Like they have a bunch of gem contracts there. You got the McKinnon on the great contract, you got Rantanen on a great contract, Kadri on a great contract. Like they're doing things right over there.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see what world that trade happens.
I think Marner's hard to trade. Just with that number, that cap hit, not a lot of teams are going to be willing to take.
That's what I said. That's what I said. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think.
I think if you really wanted to move him, you could move him, and you're probably going to still
take a lot of tinkering.
It would definitely take a lot of tinkering, but like to think that it's an untradeable contract, a kid with that much talent, you could trade him.
No, I didn't say it was untradeable. I just said it's hard to trade.
Yeah, it would definitely be hard to trade.
So I had an interesting topic for you guys, and I don't think I read it. I didn't write this down, but you guys know the question. So if you could bring back any Maple Leafs player from the past decade, so the past 10 years, which Toronto Maple Leafs player would you bring back to fit into this current roster right now?
I'm going all the way back to 2010, 2011, and I'd be bringing back Thomas Caberlet. As I think Thomas Caberlet, if you think about the way he played, his style of game fits perfectly into today's game, and he fits perfectly with the style that the Leafs play. Get the puck up quickly, get the puck to the more talented forwards. He's a phenomenal playmaker on the back end from the point and on the power play. Like he is exactly the type of defenseman the Leafs could use. And I mean, obviously, we would prefer a good right-handed defense, but the Leafs just don't have that in their history for the last 10 years. It's been a tough go. The only other person that stands out would be Carl Gunnarsson, and both of them happen to be Stanley Cup champions now.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really argue with that. I mean, if you had Caberlet in his prime,
right?
That would be amazing.
Like prime Caberlet on this team would be dope.
I got to go a little more recent with Nazem Kadri.
Okay.
And I just think he is better than Kerfoot. And I mean, in hindsight, that trade doesn't look great. I know we can't really afford to have him anymore, but it would be really nice to still have him in a third line center role.
I think so too. But I'm going to go a different route, and I'm going to say JVR, James Van Riemsdyk. I loved his production in Toronto. I think having that body in front of the net, putting him on the second power play unit, it would be extremely beneficial for this team. Pushpinder says Kessel.
Feel the thrill.
I mean, we already have a better Kessel than Austin Matthews.
Take the best player available.
I mean, I guess I get that thing, but like he gets lost on this team. He doesn't even get first power play time on this team.
That's a drafting role more so than a history role.
Yeah, I mean, he'd kind of be playing like the same role as he did in Pittsburgh. Maybe even lower.
Less. Yeah. Because Pittsburgh didn't have a Nylander or Tavares there. Well, I know they did have a Tavares. They didn't have a Marner there.
Yeah. So if you haven't already, make sure you smash the shit out of that like button. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time I'm live here on Leafs Talk Live. These are my guests this week from... You guys want to say it? You're together. You say it.
The Bahds podcast. Let's go. Who wouldn't take two Austin
podcast.
Matthews? Oh, definitely. That'd be the dream.
There's a lot of stuff going on about Rantanen in the comments section. I'm lost by that. I don't know where exactly it's at. But let's see. I think we're running out of things to talk about here. So if you guys have any last minute comments, make sure you throw them out there. We'll try to get to the questions. Remember, send in your trade offers. We're just excited for hockey to come back.
Oh, yeah.
World Juniors. It's coming up soon.
It's so close.
I mean, make sure you stay tuned to this channel. There's going to be some stuff about the World Juniors, about the Maple Leafs performances, like the Maple Leafs prospects performance in the World Juniors tournament. Hopefully the NHL is getting going soon. January 13th, the target date. Super excited for this. It's been a fun time having you guys on here.
Appreciate you having us, man.
Yeah.
Question. Do you guys have an answer for this?
Who do you think the Leafs will lose in the expansion draft?
Aaron Dell. I think that's the whole reason they got him, is to lose him in the expansion draft. That's just my take on it.
I think we lose Travis Dermott.
Ooh, that hurts. That's a tough pill to swallow.
I'm going to go with Dell, too. I think that was the reason we lost him. But there also may be better goalies available.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not really sure who. I don't know the whole list of who's available for goalies. But that I believe that's the reason we signed him as well. Here's a big trade.
It's always
for Nylander. Sledge hockey 101. What are you saying, man? That's my guy. Take it easy on him. Nylander, big one. Nylander. Toronto gets Seth Jones, Dubois, and Columbus gets Riley and Nylander.
That doesn't make any sense for Columbus at all.
No.
And like we don't need another center. So like I would love to get Seth Jones. I'd love to get Seth Jones. But like and Pierre-Luc Dubois is really good, but he'd be a third line center on the Leafs. and it's not what he is. Like it'd be a waste of his talent. And then you're just getting a winger and Nylander to play with no centers because you just traded away your one guy, and you're getting Riley, who's not as good as Jones. Like I love Morgan Riley, but Seth Jones is going to probably compete for the Norris this year.
Yeah, it's just not really addressing a need that the Leafs currently have. And yeah, it just really doesn't make sense from Columbus's side. Like, I don't know why you would ever give up Seth Jones like ever.
No, yeah, like that trade doesn't make sense for either team. Like it's just that's a trade for the sake of a trade.
Yep, I agree with you guys. That's not really a thing that's going to happen. Interesting one. Do you guys think TJ Brody will solve the blue line problems this year?
I think it's an oversimplification to think that one guy can solve the defensive problems on a team. But I do think that he pushes people down the lineup so that the Leafs are a better balanced defensive core overall. And so I think we're not going to run into a situation like we have in previous years where people are miscast in roles that they shouldn't be in. We're not going to see Travis Dermott or Justin Hall playing on the first pair. Ron Hainsey, right? So like that's the thing is we're people are slotted properly in that defensive core, and I think that will help create a little bit more stability as a whole. TJ Brody would be the catalyst to that, but to think that he's going to be the person that solves all the blue line problems would just be irresponsible.
Yeah, I mean, just to go off your point, how he pushes a lot of other defensemen down the lineup. That's the beauty of it. Our biggest shortcomings on defense haven't been because of the good players. It's been because of the really, really bad ones like the Martin Marinsons of the world. And that guy can single-handedly lose you a hockey game. And we've seen it a few times.
He's really good at it.
Him not even being on the extended roster, it's great. And TJ Brody and Zach Bogosian is another one who just kind of push him down to the Marlies where he belongs, maybe even to Newfoundland. Send him to the ECHL.
The Growlers would love him.
Yeah, I don't think Brody will solve the blue line problems. I think he definitely helps. He's a complementary piece, top 4 on pretty much any team in the NHL, but he doesn't solve it completely. There's further down the lineup, we still have issues. We need some more pieces probably in the next couple of years, maybe even at the trade deadline. I don't see anything happening before the season. There's been rumors about Chara. I don't see that happening.
No chance. Honestly, I don't think if Chara doesn't go back to Boston, I think he retires. Like I don't see him playing for another team. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Not the Leafs.
Yeah,
no.
Literally, he's played for the 3 teams that hate the Leafs the most. Think about it. He played for the Islanders, the Senators, and the Bruins. Literally the 3 fan bases that hate the Leafs the most.
Now he just needs to go play for Montreal and he'll have the full set.
Yeah, exactly.
Couple questions here. Will Robertson be on the Leafs this season? So we answer this at the beginning of this, not the season, at the beginning of the show. Short answer, yes. You can go back and check it out for the full thing. Do you guys think Mikko Lehtinen will shine in his first year? We mentioned this earlier as well.
I do think he will, though. Honestly, like I know he's such an unknown. I think he's going to be as advertised. Like I don't think he's going to be some top pairing super stud, but I think he's going to be, a solid NHL defenseman.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a positive impact for sure. And if even if it's just creating more competition on the back end, that's a good thing to have. But I hope he does really well. And I think, just based off of his resume in the KHL that he will.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think he's definitely going to have an impact on the team, but it's going to be interesting because we just don't know how that's going to translate to the NHL. It's like we're not watching KHL games every day. Chara in a Leafs color, it looks wrong.
It would. Right. It would be like when we saw Brodeur in the St. Louis jersey. It just didn't look right.
Or Plekanec in our
that was definitely really weird.
The turtleneck himself.
Although we thought Spezza in a Leaf jersey was weird too.
It was weird.
It was definitely weird.
I like that. I like that though.
Will Barabanov make it? He's a wild card.
Yeah, we touched on Barabanov too. He's an absolute wild card. I don't think he makes the opening roster, but I think he'll be given a shot on the taxi squad. He'll play a game or two just to see what he's got, and if he plays well, they'll give him more.
Yeah, and we're well over the hour mark now, so thank you to everyone who's been watching this video. As always, make sure you smash that like button. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we're live here on Leafs Talk Live. You'll be notified every time Maple Leafs Media posts a new video. There's a bunch of content coming out. Tomorrow we'll continue the counting down the top 15 Maple Leafs of the past 60 years. And this week. It was great having the Bahds on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it, man. It's been a lot of fun.
You guys want to have anything you want to say? Close out the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll close it out the way I close out every Buds episode, and it's just like, never ever forget, go Leafs, go.
And don't forget to listen to the Bahds.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out the Bahds podcast on Spotify. Check them out on Instagram. Have a good night.
See you later, guys.